Hey guys, welcome back. Today I have a theory video for you guys on one of my favorite TV shows, Rick and Morty. As season 4 is in production, I wanted to make this theory video to show, I guess, my theory before season 4 rolls around. So spoilers ahead if you haven't seen it or you want to see it or you aren't caught up. So just a warning, so you can go away and then come back or whatever you want to do. Also, disclaimer, everything in this video is all up to date up to the last episode of season 3. So with that in mind, let's begin. Rick and Morty, for those who don't know, is about a 60-year-old alcoholic grandfather, Rick Sanchez, and his 14-year-old anxious grandson, Morty Smith. The two of them will go on adventures, usually on Rick's behalf, not so much Morty. Morty just kind of tags around because he is anxious and he's very shy and kind of wimpy, so he doesn't have that moxie or that force in him to really give out plans, except for in that episode, Me Seeks and Destroy, where he ends up...
Please! Stop being such a tease, you sweet little...
Yeah. Rick is a scientist who invented many gadgets and machines, such as his portal gun that allows him to travel to any point where he wants to travel to, or any dimension, or any universe, or wherever the hell he wants to go. His space cruiser, which allows him to travel or drive to anywhere that he would want to. If he just felt like taking a joyride, then he would take that to anywhere that he wanted to. Some other well-known Rick inventions include his freeze ray, his shrink ray, his cognitive amplifier, his dream inceptor, and his neutrino bomb, and many, many, many more. Unlike his grandfather, Morty Smith is a shy, wimpy, anxious teenager. He's not very dominant. He's more of kind of a submissive type. He will do anything that Rick wants him to do and just kind of drags him along into a lot. He's an interesting character in the way of like his development through this 3 seasons that we've seen him so far. He has a 17-year-old sister, Summer Smith, and their parents are Jerry Smith and Beth Sanchez Smith, who is also Rick's daughter. Now that the synopsis is out of the way, here's the story. Rick disappeared for 20 years, leaving his wife and his daughter alone. He comes back and acts like everything is okay. Everyone doesn't question his disappearance except for Beth, because she had lost her father for 20 years, which she has some unresolved issues, which were partly dealt in the ABCs of Beth in Season 3, Episode 9. In Rick's absence, Beth and Jerry had Morty and Summer. Summer is Beth's oldest child, having her after Jerry and Beth fooled around at prom at the age of 17 years old. 3 years later, she ends up giving birth to Morty. Now, I don't have confirmation on the chronological order of the episodes or the seasons or what dimension or what universes they're all taking place in, so I won't talk about the order of the episodes. Now that the backstory and everything else is out of the way, here's kind of the math behind it. The theory that I present to you today is all about Rick's origin, and most importantly, what happened to him in the 20 years of him being gone. I say 20 years because the show's synopsis on TV Guide's website says, mad scientist Rick Sanchez moves in with his daughter's family after disappearing for 20 years and involves them in his wacky adventures in this animated comedy. And if you just hit info on your TV, then you'll see it there too, or something similar. Rick is currently 60 or 70 years old. The Rick and Morty wiki fan page says both those ages, but I have in my original notes that he's 60, so I'm gonna go with that. If it's not, then you guys can do the different math and figure out from there. But I'm going to go with 60. So if he is 60 years old and he had been gone for 20 years, then we can subtract that from his age, which would make him about 40 years old. So we can also do that with Beth's age because she had been without a father for 20 years, which her age is about 34 years old, making her about 14 years old, which in the fabricated origin story and Rick Shank redemption seem more believable just based off of how they look in that episode, in that scene. Although the origin story was faked, I, along with a whole bunch of other people, believe that there was some truth within that scene when he was deceiving Cornelius Daniel into believing how he created the portal gun and all of the numbers. And yeah, you remember that scene. I believe that there was some truth in there, just kind of how he looked and how he acted and how he set everything up. So this is where I place my theory. This is where I begin speculating on what I think happened in the 20 years of him being gone. Now, this is all kind of hypothetical. I'm just trying to have an idea put into that 20 years of, like, because nobody in their right mind would want to leave their family for 20 years. Well, normal people. Usually in family, you would not want to leave them for 20 years. So why was Rick gone for 20 years? So this is where I place my theory and what I think happened in the 20 years of him being gone. So my theory goes, I believe when Rick came up with the idea of the portal gun, he became obsessed, spending hours, days, weeks, maybe even months trying to figure out how it works. And because of that, he had become distant with his daughter and his wife. One day he was fiddling with it, trying to figure it out, going through failed attempts after failed attempts until one day he figured it out. Now, all he had to do was figure out if it would work for a human. Because of him being his ego, and he also did care about his family, he did not want to put anybody at risk. So what he did was, because he was the bigger man, he went into it himself. With him not knowing how the portal gun works or how portals work or how dimension hopping or anything works, he walks in and he starts freaking out because he did it. He's like going woohoo, getting excited, he's looking around, and then the portal closes. Rick is only there by himself and the portal gun and wherever he ends up. Now he starts freaking out because now he can't get home. Now, the portal gun that we know in the time period that we've seen it, it has the gauge to go back to wherever they first take him.
I believe I can access the history of Rick's gun and help you get back to him.
But his first prototype doesn't. So now he's trapped in the dimension or the universe or wherever he's at. He's trapped there. So he keeps shooting portals and portals and portals, going through each different one, trying to go back. He can't because of the different infinite dimensions and universes and all of the above. He then becomes lost and depressed and kind of upset and scared, because now he can't go home and he's in a place where he doesn't know. And so he tries talking to the different species after gaining the confidence to do that, because I would figure anybody who's never met an alien would be a little freaked out. So he talks to different species, going through different portals, different places, to try and find one that eventually speaks his language. He then opens up to them after gaining their trust and after them gaining his trust, and tells them what his situation is and that he can't go home. He has no way to go home, no nothing, and he's just so lost. And the place that he ends up going to has something similar to the alcohol at, and they're just like, hey buddy, why don't you have something to drink? And so he drinks it, and then now he's becoming that addict because now he's finding a way to cope with it. So after drinking and trying to get over it, he starts to come terms with what's going on, and he starts to realize that he can't go home. He decides to go back into his scientist mode, and he starts to study and analyze and learn and just research the land, research everywhere he goes, tries to learn, because that was the whole point of creating the portal gun, was to learn the different places that he would go to. He starts to dimension hop, and as he's dimension hopping, he starts to tinker with his portal gun every so often, gaining new parts from different galaxies and dimensions and universes and so on and so on, to try and get his portal gun to the point where it remembers the last place that he went to so he can categorize where he's going and whatnot. So after years and years of him going to dimension to dimension to universe to galaxy to galaxy to wherever, he starts to get sad and starts to miss being home and missing his family, missing his wife after so many years of him being gone, missing his daughter, trying to see how she'd grown up. And then he meets a hive-minded person thing named Unity, and they start to talk and interact, and he starts to kind of go with her because she was kind of like how he is, had the same kind of personality. They like to party, they like to drink, because now he's an alcoholic after years of trying to deal and cope with it. Now he's an alcoholic, he likes to party and all this other shit. Now when he meets Unity, Unity isn't as developed as we see her in autoerotic assimilation. I believe that she was kind of very unsure of herself, as the many details from that episode claims to be, that she was only a couple person mind. It wasn't until she met Rick where she decided to believe in herself and gain the confidence in herself to become like a city or become a planet or anything like that. It wasn't until she met Rick. So I believe that they had a lot of like chemistry and history to be able to kind of change each other, which would make sense because they had dated, as Rick said in the same episode.
Summer, Morty, this is Unity. We sort of used to date.
And also in the same episode, I believe that we might see an episode with Rick and Unity, because there was a line in the episode that I believe Rick said something about her taking over a giant police station.
Who am I talking to? I watched you assimilate a whole police station just to get your hands on the evidence locker.
Rick, when we met, I was a young hive mind with the population of a small town.
Now, why would he and her be in a police station? So like I said, I believe that that might be a future episode, so we'll put that over there. So after they had their kind of thing, Rick kind of decides that he doesn't want to just spend his life with her. He wants his family back. He just left her alone. And so that's the end of them two. So after they had their kind of thing, Rick kind of starts getting in that mindset of like, okay, so I've been doing this for years. I kind of get what's going on. I am going to just work my ass off trying to go home. Now, I don't have this idea really thought out well, but I want to put this out there too. I think that at some point when he was dimension hopping, he ran into one of himself. Now, when he ran into one of himself, maybe he, of that alternate version, was more developed and he was trying to help him out, and then maybe that one knows of another Rick, which ends up creating the Citadel of Ricks to protect them from any future threat or whatever happens. Now, I feel like that would be one of the last things that would have happened to Rick before he got home, because if he ran into all of those Ricks and they all were the same person and they all went through the same thing, they all should have put all their heads together and figure out how to get home. Now, when he got home, he just wanted to act like it never happened. I mean, Morty and Summer, they grew up without a grandfather. They had no memory of him growing up. So then when he came into their lives, it was just kind of like, oh, okay, well, we haven't met you at all, so let's get to know you. Now, I could say a lot more to this theory to add more belief into it, but I feel like the whole getting trapped in this endless loop of trying to go through different dimension, different universe, different galaxies, different whatever to get home, I feel like that theory in itself, just the thought of that, it explains a lot. Because it's like, why would he just disappear for 20 years? Like, Beth didn't even know what happened. I think that this theory holds to what it's supposed to do. I feel like it holds itself, but there's only one issue. Just two people make this theory not work at all. Squanchy and Bird Person. Because in The Wedding Squanchers, Rick had said that Bird Person and Squanchy were together in college, which normally a lot of people would go to college in their 20s. So if Rick was 40 when he left, then how did he know them when they're 20? And another thing too is Bird Person and Squanchy are two people from different dimensions or universes or wherever they live. So it's, how would Rick know them if he had never went to another dimension or whatever to realize that there are other people than just humans? So that kind of is the only thing that throws this whole theory out the window. It just doesn't add up. It was just kind of a thought that I've had, just to kind of have like a placement of how this theory would work. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just wanted to put this theory out there just to kind of have filler. If you guys like the idea, let me know down below. If you can figure out a way how it actually fits, even including Squanchy and Bird Person, please let me know. I actually just watched a clip from The Wedding Squanchers, and I was listening to what Bird Person was saying to Beth.
Oh, it sounds like you and my dad have a long history together. Wish I could say the same.
The road your father and I walk together is soaked deeply with the blood of both friends and enemies. The war in which we fought is far from over. We live our lives in hiding. The galactic government considers us terrorists. It's unwise of me to share these details, but I've become inebriated. The guest list at this wedding includes 17 of the Federation's most wanted. We have committed numerous atrocities in the name of freedom.
And it sounds like maybe this wasn't the case. Maybe it was that they actually had a war going on, and maybe that was what he was doing in the 20 years of him being gone. I don't know. But like I said, if you guys like the thought, please let me know. Just throwing it out there. And if you guys like that video, like and subscribe, ring the bell, and comment below how you're doing, what you guys thought, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.